During my formative days of photography, when I used to buy a DSLR, I used to get a 24-105 f4 lens as the kit lens. Those days, I would dream about buying a 24-70 f2.8. So the f2.8s were always required because it allows more light and obviously it helps with shallow depth of field. But we always desired a 24-105 lens with f2.8 aperture. Those days, it was not possible due to certain reasons that I'll be discussing later in the review. But today, we have from Sigma a brand new 28-105 f2.8 DGDN art lens, which is there for both Sony and L-mount. So I reviewed the whole lens by mounting it on a Sony A7R5. I shot a 2 days wedding. We call it as 80th wedding of couples, especially in Tamil Nadu, where once one of the couples reached 80 years, they used to perform a wedding in a temple named Tirukadayur down south in Tamil Nadu. So I shot that wedding. It had areas wherein I had to shoot portraits, groups, events, low light, where I went up to 12,800 ISO. Everything was tested with this lens. So during the course of the review, I'll tell you how I found this lens to be. The first thing I realized as I unpacked this lens, this is another art lens and it has all the features built very well, looks beautiful. All the features of an art lens like aperture ring, which can be locked in place, it can be declicked, autofocus manual focus switch, 2 function buttons which can be customized for both vertical and horizontal orientation, a lock button for zoom creep, you can lock it at 28 mm. And as soon as you zoom, it clicks and locks out. So all features of art lenses that are there. In addition, it is completely weather sealed, dust and splash resistant. The another thing, as soon as I took this lens in hand, I felt it was a bit heavy, but not too heavy. It's about 995 grams. It might be heavier than a 24-105 f4 or a 24-70 by about 200 to 250 grams. But to get this versatile focal length range of 28 to 105 at f2.8, I think you can bear this 200 to 250 grams. I am with this lovely lady, Gauri Amma, who has been selling flowers before the Tirunelmalai temple for over a whole generation. The whole generation has been doing this work. And we are able to shoot a lovely portrait of her with this lens at 105 mm at 2.8. So this is the versatility of a lens like this. You go on wide to capture something documentary in style and immediately go 105 and can capture portraits at the same time. When it comes to performance, the first thing I should mention is autofocus. See, all the autofocus function of the Sony cameras like eye autofocus, subject recognition, and everything was working properly. In addition to that, because of the linear motors, the HLAs, the focus is damn fast. Sigma claims it's about 0.15 seconds to 0.2 seconds. I couldn't really measure it, but it was at that instant. Even if I focused from a near point to a far point, the focus was happening immediately. And when I shot a wedding, I nearly didn't miss any shot because of autofocus. Look here. Animal eye autofocus is working great on this lens. When it comes to optical performance, like any art zoom lens, it was sharp corner to corner even at f2.8. Yes, if you stop down a little, that sharpness improves a bit. And when it comes to chromatic aberrations, flaring or things like that, I honestly could not recognize any of it. So now I'm at 105 mm at 2.8. And I'm focusing between our flower vendor Gauri and another flower vendor at the background. So when I'm racking focus, I feel the focus breathing is nearly non-existent, which is great for a lens like this. So I think a lot of video makers will prefer this lens. As a documentary style wedding photographer, I often go for close-up shots like thali, flowers, decor, and stuff like that. And I cannot be reaching out to another lens just for this particular purpose. I'm happy to say This lens gives a 1:3.1 macro throughout the range and a minimum focusing distance of about 0.4 meters throughout the range. This is very helpful, and most lenses give macro in the wider end and they don't give so much in the tele end. This lens, as it gives macro in 105 also, it makes me happy because it gives a practical good distance to take that macro. There is one unique aspect of this lens. This lens has about 12 aperture blades. So what? Usually these kind of lenses have 11 aperture blades. The moment you have even number of aperture blades, that means you're going to get great sun stars. Unfortunately, the day was cloudy today and I wasn't able to shoot sun stars. I'll go and show some kind of an example. Sigma is making some unique lenses like this, like the 28-105 f2.8. We might not have dreamt that manufacturers will make such lenses in the past. Look at that 28-45 f1.8, the brightest zoom ever made. All these lenses have been possible because of advances in camera technology, especially the digital correction within the camera for lens profiles, vignetting, distortion, etc. I recommend that these features has to be turned on in the camera to get a proper picture. A lot of people feel that this is actually a downside because the lens is not optically corrected. But all modern lenses are going to be like that, and there is no option. You either correct in the camera or correct the RAWs in a software like Lightroom or Capture One. This 28-105 is such a versatile focal length range that I cannot actually complete the list of applications this lens can be used for. I can think about landscapes, I can think about shooting a little bit of architecture, I can think about documentary photography, I can think about weddings. While I really love this lens optically, autofocus wise, operability wise, and once zoomed in and locked at 28, it's even compact to carry for travel photographers. But I had to look at the price. Why would be a better choice for a photographer? So you have 24-105 f4s in the market for around $1,300. 24-70 f2.8 in Sigma itself is available for $1,200. These are about $200-$250 more than this, because this lens is available at a price of approximately $1,500, which I feel is quite competitive, especially when compared to some of the brands which sell a 24-105 f2.8 at $3,000. So I think a lot of photographers are going to love this lens for versatility and the price point. Overall, I feel it's a great lens for wedding photographers, documentary photographers, and some of the landscape photographers. I'm completely happy with this lens and happy to recommend it to all these photographers.